Hello everyone and welcome to the 2019 South Florida Open PDGA A-Tier presented by Latitude 64. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, as we are here at Snyder Park, and this is the opening round for the FPO division. We've got a great card lined up. Small field here this weekend. However, we're going to be able to feature them all today, and that is Lindsay Fish, who's out of Two Rivers, Wisconsin. She has moved down or relocated to Florida. I think she's down there for a couple of years, and last I spoke to her, she's actually on her way back to relocating back to Wisconsin. So we also see a transplant in Esther Schultz a moment ago. She has moved from Louisiana over to Coconut Grove, Florida. And then our one Florida native is Ellen Widboom out of Brooksville, Florida, throwing the clean tee shot here. Lindsay's approach on hole number one. Hole one is considered a par 4. Comes in at 377 feet. And just a bit high there for Esther. She grabs the upper trees, lower branches, I think is another term for those. And Ellen has an approach, possibly just trying to get some of those first hole jitters out of the way. And just coming up short is Esther, or short of the OB, that is. Lindsay's lining up. This is a turbo putt. You'd think it's a McRae special. Oh, nice. Lindsay getting it done on hole one. Great turbo putt from just inside the circle. Esther with a little bit of a sigh there. I'll take the blame. Maybe I was distracting. That's all possible. I hope it's not the case. But maybe, again, maybe some of those first hole jitters to try and just get past. Ellen suggesting flow of play, that if someone's ready to get up and throw or putt, they are more than welcome to do so. So we see a couple of birdies and Esther with the bogey on hole one. We move over to hole two, 265 feet. And I feel like it plays all of that. Now the women are playing from different tees on a few of the holes from what the men played here during this opening round. You see Lindsay in the background putting her hands up. She was excited about seeing that one stay clean. Not quite as clean for Esther, although that I'm not sure how much more distance she was going to cover. We've got Juha Kytö on the catch cam. He's in from Finland and runs the Toonie, which is Europe's largest participated event. Just sheer size and numbers, so many people coming out for that, more than 1,000 people at the event. And he came to hang out for the weekend, and next thing you know, he's working a catch cam. He hasn't done a lot of that in the past, so I appreciate all the effort, and this is his first go at it. Not quite enough for Ellen to the elevated basket. This is for par for Esther. Also worth noting, Esther not feeling well. She said she was under the weather. I think she was maybe even almost hesitant on coming out to compete for the weekend, but she just was not feeling well. I think she had it for a few days, and then it even remained for a few days after the fact. She makes a good putt there. Another turbo, this one to the elevated basket. No problem. I'm going to spoil it just a little bit for you guys and let you know that is her typical putting style. She's not just putting on some trickery for us in the first few holes. That is how she typically putts. Speaking of trickery, Ellen getting that, retrieving it from the basket as Zach Melton applauds from an adjacent hole. Hole 3 features the water carry. It's just 230 feet, but plays uphill, and Lindsay goes just past the basket. Ellen plays the wider to the left gap using her forehand. Of course, a predominant forehand thrower. And just a bit short, and she's going to come up at the edge there. Okay, so it doesn't really matter what her putting style is. That one finds the bottom of the basket, and what a great start here for Lindsay. She's 2 down after 3, and she's got 3 solid putts. A little confidence boost. Esther finds herself, she's got to worry about her hand possibly finding the wall's edge, and she's on track. Great birdie to answer. And hoping to complete the star frame, Ellen Widboom finishes off hole number 3 with a birdie. Nice work. We're going to move over to hole number 4, a beautiful water shot as well. Basket is tucked up and to the right. And Lindsay, no problem clearing it as I pan over to the pin. And not often do you see a backhand from Ellen Widboom, but I think she's been really working on it in the offseason. And she has almost an immediate answer there, or a very similar answer, I'll say, to what we just saw from Lindsay. And joining the crowd is going to be Esther. They're actually all pretty close to one another. And they're dealing with the sand on their run up here. And it looks like Esther really just turned that one over, and it did not have enough space to fight back to the inbounds area. So she's going to take it with a penalty stroke. You see Ellen going with the standstill. Also a backhand standstill at that. Comes up just short. Solid approach by Lindsay. So this will be Esther to save her par after the penalty stroke. And unfortunately, that's going to look like a bogey for her. Solid run, just a bit high. Back to the turbo for Lindsay, and back to the birdies. Nice. She's got 3 birdies in the first 4 holes. The wave and the smile. Looks like we might have an official quick stick. Unintended ad, but we do love our quick sticks. I'll try to remember to put quick stick in the description below. Everybody should have one of those. Wow, they can even be used, I mean, even while putting. Look at that. Javelin. Maybe the pole vault. I don't know. Vaulting around. I'm not sure, but thank you to all the Patreon subscribers and supporters that I have. We're able to sometimes give a little extra bonus footage as a result of the Patreon support that I get. I do appreciate each and every one of you guys, as Lindsay does break through the trees on that right side. Ellen back to her forehand. That's going to be in the opening, just a bit short. I feel like this is a slightly different configuration from what we saw last year. I feel as if the hole is at least 150, maybe 200 feet past where it is now. Maybe not quite that far. But I remembered it as being a more blind par 4 in previous years. We're at Snyder Park down near Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Esther looks a little unenthused. Oh, a solid run.
Keep running.
As they're starting to clear out on 5. I wanted to say just a matter of timing, really, and so I apologize that you're just getting me here for the commentary. It was thought of that we might be able to get a combo of like Ellen and Lindsay to do it, or then possibly me and Esther, and with the holidays and everything else that was kind of unfolding as this event was late December or mid-December into the new year. Unfortunately, commentary with some of our competitors just didn't pan out, and we wanted to get this out to you so you could view it. I believe that's the first forehand drive we've seen from Lindsay. I mean, she should really just be turbo putting every throw at this point. And just a bit closer for Ellen in front of that tree. And keeping her away from the OB road. It's a little bit conservative. She'll have a long putt here, now faced with the road behind her. Definitely thinking about that tree, maybe the road, not her best effort. Oh, and a great run. If you haven't noticed, it seems like Lindsay's really got just about every shot or trick in her bag here. Speaking of trickery, I don't know about that shirt I'm wearing. I thought it was the most Florida shirt I had, so figured I'd bust it out for you guys. Good par save. Ellen for birdie. That one slips past her, unfortunately. Here is Lindsay to clean up as we're just about a third of the way through the round. She taps in with the turbo. Ellen, knowing that that one was definitely in her range, we'll take a quick walk across the street over to the hole number 7. And this hole is really blind to the competitors. I believe it plays pretty much almost exactly at 12 o'clock off the front of the tee pad from where Ellen is standing right there, straight ahead. Okay, maybe at the 1 o'clock, but Ellen gets tricky and plays it off the road and parks it. Juha getting in there. What an incredible shot to go up that left side and then just have all the confidence in the world. Possibly an Excalibur, if I had to guess, from Ellen. I know she throws those frequently. And the standstill with a really awkward stance, in fact, for Esther. She goes just deep of the pin. Believe it or not, with the highway that close, I even turned down the volume from these particular clips considerably. So if that means anything to you of just how loud it actually can be while you're playing a couple of these holes. Esther working back, and she's going to still save her par with that. And this time a little bit quicker than the last birdie attempt. That one wasn't much shorter. Lindsay's going to settle for her par. She's at 3 under, as is Ellen. Esther, a little bit of a slow start here to get things going as she sits at +2. Ellen going with the backhand here, 271 feet. The road directly behind the basket's OB. That's where Juha is. And great power. Whoa, too much power out of Lindsay. She goes just past the basket and finds herself out of bounds. Ellen's got a window. Doesn't look like she has any real obstruction, but she's got to be precise still. And a great run. Esther again recognizing that the OB road is directly behind the pin. This is Lindsay for par. And she smiles as she cans it. Of great par recovery, of course. She appears to be having some fun out there. I think if I made just about every putt I threw at this point, I'd be pretty happy too. And everyone's going to walk away with the par. We're going to move over to hole number 9. Hole 9 is a par 4 at 435 feet. And not so much what I'd consider the distance being the real challenge here. This is a relatively tight gap. It's a little bit wider here on this opening shot. You really want to land roughly, well, right there is pretty darn good without that tree. But somewhere around there is pretty good. And then as we pan to the basket, you see that it kind of funnels down into that little area. I could see it being incredibly difficult to try and drive this pin from the tee. And that's a really good looking shot there by Esther. Ellen making sure I remember her last name, Widboom. We got it. Not making that corner here on this tee shot just sets you up for a really difficult approach. But after her second shot, she then has the amazing recovery to put herself under the pin, so she can hopefully walk away with a par there. Great shot by Ellen. Temps were in the low 80s or so. Just a little bit humid. You can see some of the breeze that's there. I feel like we've been pretty blessed with the conditions here at this event throughout the years. I want to thank Juha for working the catch cam, but also Pat Duncan, along with Tri-Fly, and of course Latitude 64, our presenting sponsor. Yeah. And even as she's walking to the basket, you notice a little bit of a sniffle there, just not feeling it maybe. Another turbo putt. I really don't have much else to say about it. She's good at it, folks. In fact, that's what I want you to leave in the comments. I'd like to know, outside of Johnny McRae, who you feel is the next best turbo putter you've ever seen. Or maybe you think there's someone better than Johnny. I would think you're crazy. But outside of Johnny McRae, who do you think is the next best turbo putter you've ever seen, either in person or on film? Put that in the comments. I will be giving away some discs from all of these rounds that I've put out. And you guys have been great with the interaction on those. But that's what I'd like to hear. Is who do you feel is the best turbo putter you've ever seen? Maybe it's you. I'd love to see a video if so. But I've never seen a better female turbo putter than Lindsay right now. She's incredible. At 240 feet, this one has a relatively tight right to left bend. And Esther found trouble early on the left side, and then it kicked even more left. So right now she's fighting just to get up and down. That was her second shot a moment ago. This is her trying to line up for her third. And it looks like she's missed her line. Lindsay trying to get out of trouble. That's going to leave her probably a 20, maybe 25 footer actually. As Ellen's referenced, we haven't seen any lack of aggressive play from her thus far, and Esther's hopefully going to just have that for her tap in now. Oh, yeah. Way to go. Way to go, Terry. I obviously just jinxed her talking about how amazing of a turbo putter she is. Yeah, you can leave that in the comments. You don't need to, because I already know you're thinking it. And we're moving on. We're a little more than halfway done. Hole 11, 388 feet. This is, I would say, the tightest fairway. There is a mandatory that you have to navigate around. Where Ellen's landed isn't too bad. She should have a relatively open look at the basket, but I love tight wooded golf. I would not be excited about throwing this hole. We're seeing that both Ellen and Lindsay have no problem hitting the gap, though. You see the sign there with the Mando that you have to go inside of that tree on that right. I don't think you'd ever really not want to anyway. And these women are making it look relatively easy. That's not quite punched all the way through. But as we kind of pan over to the basket there, that's where it's tucked off. Again, 368 feet. If you're getting 225, 250 of it off the tee, hopefully it's an easy up and down, but there's still some work to do here. And with Esther being out of position off of her first shot, that made her second shot that much more challenging. Whereas I think we'll see both Lindsay and Ellen. Ooh, great run by Ellen. And Lindsay was no more than 10 feet from Ellen's shot, but you see how imperative that 10 feet was, considering that Ellen had a relatively easy standstill approach that she could take, whereas Lindsay had to try and reach out and throw a forehand, which wasn't her best forehand of the day. Pretty good approach there, though. See that we have various team representation. Team Lucky Disc Golf, Lindsay. We got Team Innova with Ellen. And then Team Disc Mania with Esther Schultz. And team title sponsor of the tournament, Latitude 64.
Yes, please.
All the pleasantries and camaraderie. Everyone getting at it here through hole 11. How do you not love that South Florida Open Turtle logo? I don't know. I think it's great. We're going to move over to hole 12, par 3 at 265 feet. Clearly drivable, as looks like the backstop maybe is what held up Ellen's there on that right side. She's about pin high, maybe even a few feet past the pin. This, too, a very tight gap to hit. You've got a couple options. Lindsay actually goes right past the basket. And that's just low for Esther. You see that she really works that turnover to hyzer shot, playing that full flex out of most of her discs. I think we've seen that as relatively consistent. You also see some of that approach even in her longer putts. Something to make note of. Now here's Lindsay. She's gone deep of the basket again. I think back to hole 8 where she went right past the basket with just too much power. And she's kind of fighting just to get out. And I managed to trim a little time off of Ellen trying to get in there and really get a position to be so close, but yet to have such an obstructed putt. And there it is. Lindsay's back on track with the turbo, this time to save par. Esther's going to do the same, and Ellen likely to clean up here as she'll also walk away with a par. So unfortunately for them, 3 pars here on hole 12. We're 2/3 of the way through. Move over to hole number 13. Certainly a hole that I feel like everyone will remember once they walk away from either playing this course or visiting here. We're seeing it on the coverage. Okay, well, I'm a little confused. I'm actually thinking about the next hole. Not that this hole you won't remember. The next hole is where I was thinking we were, though. We'll get to that in a moment. Straight up the middle, 240 feet for Lindsay. No problem with the backhand. She's in putting range. And now one would think, would I go back and edit my previous commentary mistake? Oh, no. Like our golfers, I'm definitely human. I make plenty of mistakes. We're going to leave that. As Ellen is trying to find her position. Now, there is a pro move, not only to get her footing, which I love, using a disc that she's not about to throw. And I think that's the takeaway. There is the pro tip in what we just saw from Ellen. I love it. She's got at least 45 feet. And just not enough. Too much hyzer finish there. Short turbo, looking at a birdie. Heartbreak Hotel, she says. I couldn't agree more. When we've seen what she did on that front 9, I would have bet my house on her making that putt. I don't know if there's a little additional pause there, maybe a little extra time thinking about it, but Lindsay, I think everybody was going to bet that you were going to make that. Esther's going to walk away with her par, a little bit frustrated. Lindsay remains at 1 under par. Now we're moving on to hole 14. I was a little confused there for a moment. Still not the one I was thinking it was. Yes, folks, I even edited this, and I've managed to mix these up. Great shot by Ellen. Doesn't matter what hole number this is. 267. And Lindsay chuckles a little bit as I do. I think about the 3 holes now that have been almost exactly 265, 267, 281, and Lindsay has accidentally outdriven them by all by at least 30 to 40 feet. So she just needs to just dial it back, Lindsay. Put the guns away. All right, simmer down a little bit. And just dial it back a little. Opting for the straddle. Ooh, a great run. And no less than 3 or 4 inches of distance between her disc and the basket. I think we call that a miss. But Esther's right there to pick up the birdie. I think my point was that Lindsay's putt was really close, maybe 3 or 4 inches, maybe not even that much. It was a great run. Ellen had the birdie. She moved to 4 under. Lindsay stays at 1 under. Oh, gobble. All right, third time's a charm, and I finally realized what hole we're on. This is the one I was talking about earlier. Ellen keeping it low, 341 feet. It bends up into the right and plays to an elevated basket that is mounted on top of a pyramid-like structure. All right, use some of that 265 power here, Lindsay, to throw it about 310. Nice and low, and yeah, maybe almost pin high. She does keep it inbounds. Esther's got some work to do. She's got to get around the tree, but keep it low. Oh, and that is beautiful. Absolutely perfect approach shot there by Esther. Can we see that the one mistake you don't want to make on this hole, and Ellen unfortunately is showing it to us, is you don't want to be tight to that right, because your options are so much, they're just completely limited, and they're taken away from you as to how you can really attack the pin. If you're going to miss anywhere, you kind of want to flare out somewhere to the left. Even Esther's shot, which we saw was low, that was still kind of on the left side. Lindsay's shot, left side, way out to the left, but she had such an easier angle at the basket than what we would see from Ellen, who's now fighting up the right-hand side. And now here's Esther to try to save the 3. Oh, no. I agree with that. Dang. And Ellen a little bit frustrated as she was fighting through that right-hand side. Here's the uphill turbo putt by Lindsay. And of course you're going to count it.
Thank you.
And of course she's got a smile, as she should. The other 2 stayed up top, so they're going to be able to tap in on hole 15. Esther will take the bogey. Ellen with the double bogey. And Lindsay with the par. So a little bit of score separation here on hole 15. Gonna move on down. .270 feet. We'll see if Lindsay can just back off the power slightly. And she has, that's coming in low with a skip. And almost exactly pin high. So she's got the right amount of speed for that one. There is OB if you go deep. If you find the rotor, go beyond it, which is something that Esther was kind of worried about for a moment, I think. But she's going to find herself inbounds. Ellen opting for the backhand. I love that she's working on it, has been working on it, and then she's clearly trusting it to where she's bringing it out in a PDGA A tier. And I just love that confidence. I think Ellen's game can ratchet up a few notches if we see her really get that consistent backhand shot dialed in. She's so good with the forehand, and I think seeing her with a backhand is going to make her that much more deadly. Trying to get a little Instagram action. I'm expecting the birdie here. She goes with the, well, okay. Again, doesn't matter what the putting style is. As she, I think her arm or her hand would have probably come in contact with the tree that was right next to her. So see her go with the backhand. Takes the birdie regardless. She moves to 2 under. She's all knotted up with Ellen. Just 2 holes left to play. Hole 17. 200 feet, plays to the elevated basket here that's up on a little bit of a platform. It's low and right. As we're seeing Esther throw, I want to say a huge shout out. I know the whole Schultz family has been always so kind and gracious. They said they've enjoyed Disc Golf Guy vlogs for many years, and I just want to say hello to all of you guys. I don't remember if Esther said she has 29 or 28 brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter. It's an entire Frisbee family. I've now filmed or worked with a number of the Schultz family. It was great to have Esther here on the coverage, and just a huge shout out to everyone over there. You guys are like half my viewership if you all watch it on different devices. Oh. Esther, uphill putt, birdie on 17. Okay, well, next time. And back on the birdie train. Ellen finds herself now at 3 under. Juha working all the angles. I love it. And a pair of pars. We're going to move over to hole 18. They play just 1 round here on Friday, the opening round. It's 1 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and 1 on Sunday. Last year we also opened with FPO coverage here at Snyder Park, and I was glad to do so. I think we had a 5-some of women out here competing. Great forehand. Hole 18's a par 4 at 400 feet. And you got to hit this initial gap, and it looks like Lindsay did. Unfortunately, though, she skipped into some trouble. Try fly and Tournament Central off to the right there. As Esther finds an early tree. Loving the recovery shot. Looks like she's found herself in the fairway. And one doesn't quite fight all the way through there for Ellen. Bouncing off the platform, a little more carry than she was hoping for. As they're getting in position, I also want to just say, again, thank you to all of you guys that watch, that subscribe, that comment. Please click on the little bell, do all that normal YouTube stuff that I think I'm supposed to ask for. Also, if you're interested, your Patreon support goes such a long way in me bringing you guys coverage. I know that a lot of the cards and a lot of the events that I cover aren't necessarily the biggest events in the world, as Ellen finds herself with an unfortunate OB here. But if I continue to get that Patreon support, I can spread the love to more events that otherwise maybe wouldn't be getting the coverage. So the link is in the description below, and great up and down as Esther finishes with her par. She had to work hard for it, but a great par to finish. Now Ellen, after going out of bounds, she had the lead by a single stroke over Lindsay. She's going to move to 2 under. And Lindsay, who's been so deadly. All right, well, great, amazing performance again. Tell me who the best turbo putter in the world is. Lindsay's definitely in that category, in my opinion, even with that miss. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you to Pat Duncan, Juha, Latitude 64. The women are going to add up their scorecard. Unfortunately, not do it correctly, so Ellen's going to get penalized, but she'll go on and win the tournament. So thanks for joining us. Love you guys. Appreciate it. We'll see you at the next one. I'm the Disc Golf Guy, and that was my video blog. I'm joined by a fellow, Wisconsin native sort of transplant, kind of?
For sure. Born and raised, so.
All right, Lindsay. Well, a couple of Wisconsin people down here in Florida, a little bit of heat, a little bit of humidity, but you're moving? What's going on? Get us up to speed here.
I absolutely love this course. The best part about it, like you said, with the heat was just the fact that we got the muscles warm. I use my birdie bag a lot to help prevent against any sticky fingers or anything. So all the lines were coming out just perfect, and that Champion plastic works perfect in this humidity. So thanks, Innovadiscs.
Well, you almost had a little too much power out there, as we saw in a few of those shots. Now, it's easy to say who the best male turbo putter in the world is. That's Johnny McRae. You're definitely in line for that female turbo putter. Where does that come from? Where's that practice? Where does that all spark from?
I actually learned it when I was young from Duster Don Hoffman up in Wisconsin. So
Yep.
Shout out to the Wisco peeps. And definitely have fine-tuned it by watching some of Johnny's footage and playing in the Florida Palms. It's always good to turbo right over the top of those. So.
Well, you seem to have it dialed in. You shot a 56 this round. We've got 3 rounds to play. What's your game plan?
My game plan is just to stick to my notes and hopefully just keep executing, and to take good care of my muscles afterwards.
All right, well, she's got some stiff competition. A small field, but a very talented one. Lindsay Fish, chairman of the Disc Golf Guy, thanks to Juha and the rest of the crew for filming. We'll see you guys for the next round.